Your dog hasn't moved from the spot they curled into last night. But their eyes are open. And they're not scanning the room. They're not watching the door or tracking a sound from outside. They're watching your face, the almost invisible twitch at your eyelid, the pulse moving soft and slow at your throat, the small fog of your breath against the pillow. There and gone. There and gone. 18 minutes. That's how long they've been doing this. No sound, no movement, just that quiet, patient watch. And tomorrow, when 5:47 comes around again, when the room fills with that same blue, they'll be right there, watching the same face, the same breath, the same person they decided, somewhere back in time, was worth waking up for. If you asked most people why their dog wakes up before them, you'd get the same 3 answers every time. Hunger, bathroom, noise a garbage truck, a bird, someone's car door 2 streets over. And honestly, those answers feel reasonable. They're tidy. They fit what we've been told to believe about animals, that they're driven by need, and need alone. Here's where it gets strange, though. Veterinary sleep researchers have spent the last decade actually watching what healthy, well-fed, well-walked dogs do in the dark. And this dawn behavior, the waking, the turning, the watching, it shows up even when none of those triggers are there. No empty stomach, no full bladder, quiet street, no alarm, a Sunday with nowhere to be. They still wake. Same window of time, same direction, same watch. So it's not coming from outside them. It's coming from somewhere deeper. Someplace in their body that decided a long time ago that this particular moment, the one right before this particular person opens their eyes, was worth being awake for. What you've been calling a habit is actually a choice, made in the dark before you even know it's being made. Every single morning. And here's what I want you to stay with for the next 16 minutes or so, because you're about to understand the quietest love story your dog has ever told you. The one they've been telling since the day they first came home, in their own language, on their own schedule, without ever asking if you were paying attention. You weren't. Not yet. But you're about to be. And this isn't a story about dogs in general. Not some abstract scientific population. Not the dogs in the studies, though we'll get to those. The dog lying somewhere near you right now. Or waiting in the next room. Or maybe the one you lost and still find yourself thinking about at this exact hour of the morning. This is about yours. In 2019, a research group at North Carolina State University strapped tiny actigraphy sensors, no bigger than a watch face, onto dozens of healthy adult dogs living in ordinary homes, sleeping in ordinary beds, beside their ordinary, beloved people. Then they recorded what those dogs' bodies actually did across hundreds of nights. Not what owners guessed, not what the dogs looked like from across the room, what the data said. And what the data said surprised almost everyone. Roughly 15 to 20 minutes before their owner's usual wake-up time, the dog's activity levels spiked, sharply. Their bodies moved from deep rest into what researchers call pre-awakening arousal, heart rate climbing, muscle tone returning, the brain shifting gears like a car engine warming up. And here's the part that gets under your skin a little. The spike showed up on weekdays. It showed up on weekends. It showed up on days when the owner had turned the alarm off, changed their schedule, slept in. The dog's body was keeping the time, not the clock on the nightstand, not the light through the curtains. The body. And that's not an accident. It's an inheritance. Wolves, the ancestors, still living somewhere inside your dog. Underneath the soft ears and the familiar smell are crepuscular. Most active at twilight. Most alert right at the seam between night and day. The sliver of time when everything shifts. 15,000 years of living alongside humans softened almost everything about that. The diet changed. The territory shrank. Even the bark evolved to be more readable to us, more expressive, more tuned to what we respond to. But the pre-dawn alertness, that stayed. It's one of the most preserved rhythms in the species. Ancient and stubborn and, somewhere along the way, pointed deliberately, it seems at one thing: your face. Across a dark room. 15 minutes before you open your eyes. Their body is keeping the clock for you. Even on the mornings you forgot to set one. Let me just say it plainly, because sometimes the science can make you lose the thread of what's actually happening. Your dog isn't waking up early. They're waking up for you. Not the couch, and I know some of our dogs could make a strong case for that couch. Not the warm patch by the window. Not the bowl. You. Think about a mother, any mother, sleeping in the deepest stretch of the night. And then, somehow, opening her eyes 30 seconds before her baby starts to cry. Not because she heard something. There's no sound yet. Her ears didn't catch a thing. Her body did. Somewhere below conscious thought, she'd been tracking the rhythm of the person she loves. The shifts in breathing, the change in the air, the way silence feels different right before it's about to be broken. That's what your dog is doing in the dark. This isn't sentiment dressed up in scientific language. This is biology, actual biology, arranging itself around a single human being. And the human being is you. Now let's go back further, much further. In a small place called Bonn Oberkassel, in what is now Germany, archaeologists uncovered a grave roughly 14,000 years old. Inside it, a man, a woman, and a dog. The dog was young, and from the state of the bones, researchers could tell it had been seriously ill distemper, most likely. The kind of sickness that would have needed weeks of hands-on care. Someone carrying it, bringing it water, keeping it warm through nights it almost didn't survive. Think about that for a second. There was no practical reason to do that. No economic argument for nursing a sick dog back to health that couldn't hunt, couldn't work, couldn't pull anything or protect anything while it was that ill. It was just a small, suffering animal that someone in that family decided was worth saving. And when it finally died, they didn't leave it outside. They put it in their own grave, between them, so that none of them would have to be underground, alone. That's not an early version of a pet. That's the beginning of something our species is still doing. Still living inside of. Right now. In bedrooms like yours. In those first shared shelters, the caves, the firesides, the long stretches of cold and dark before we had walls and locks and alarm systems, the dawn watch wasn't tender. It was necessary. Someone had to be awake before the sun came up. Someone had to be listening when everyone else was too exhausted to hear. The dog took that job without being asked, without needing it explained. Generation after generation after generation. The cave is gone now. The danger is gone. The job, technically, is gone. The watch remains. When your dog opens their eyes in the dark this morning and turns them toward your face, they're not just being your dog. They're repeating something older than language, older than written history, older than almost everything humans have built except maybe love itself. Now, not every dog watches the same way. And the way yours does it says something about who they are with you. Something specific. Something worth knowing. There are 3 kinds of morning watchers. See if yours is in here. The first is what I'd call the distant sentinel. They're at the foot of the bed, or on the rug, or maybe on the armchair in the corner that's technically not theirs but has been theirs for years. They don't come close. But if you sit up in the dark and really look, you find their head already raised, eyes already open, watching the doorway as much as they're watching you. This is the guardian, the one who took the oldest job in the relationship and made it their whole personality. They're not distant because they don't love you. They're distant because they've decided on your behalf that someone needs to hold the perimeter. And they appointed themselves. The second is the face reader. And if this is your dog, you know exactly what I mean because you've woken up to a nose about 3 inches from your face more times than you can count. They press a paw against your chest or along the curve of your back, and they leave it there. They're reading you the way a doctor reads a chart, the rhythm of your breathing, the temperature of your skin, the faint chemical shift in the air that tells them whether you slept well or didn't, whether something is wrong or whether everything, for now, is fine. They want to know you're okay. And they want to be touching you while they find out. The third is the door witness. They've already left the bed by the time you wake up. They're in the doorway, body angled outward toward the hall, head turned back toward you, one eye on the exit, one eye on you, holding both at once. It looks like they're leaving, but they're not. They're holding the line between the world and the room where you're sleeping. The room where you're still vulnerable. The room they're not going anywhere from. Which one is yours? Because here's the thing, none of these is better than the others. They're not personality flaws or signs of anxiety or proof of anything missing. They're 3 different dialects of the same sentence. And the sentence is, I chose to be awake before you. Again. Today. Now I have to tell you something I almost didn't include. Because once you know it, it changes things a little. In 2021, a research team at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest did something painstaking. They placed gentle EEG sensors on family dogs sleeping in their actual homes, not labs, not facilities. Real homes with real smells and real people, and recorded the electrical activity of the canine brain through the entire night. Not behavior, not movement, brain waves. The thing underneath everything else. What they found in those last 20 minutes before the owners woke up, it was the opposite of what you'd expect. You'd think sleep would lighten gradually as morning comes, that the dog would drift upward softly, the way you might on a good morning when you surface slowly and don't feel the edge of the alarm. That's how it works for most animals. That's not what happened. In that pre-dawn window, the dog's brains showed less relaxation, more deliberate alertness. They were pulling themselves out of the deepest, most restorative phase of sleep, REM, the stage that matters just as much for them as it does for us. The stage where the body repairs and the mind consolidates, and everything that makes rest worth having actually happens, and they were leaving it early. On a schedule their bodies had built around yours. Your dog is giving up the best part of their own sleep, so they can be there when you open your eyes. And I want to sit with that for a moment, because I think we rush past it. If someone in your life, a partner, a friend, your sister, quietly gave up an hour of their own rest every single day for years just to be awake when you opened yours, you'd call that devotion. You'd probably cry a little if they told you. You'd think about it for days. It's already happening. In your bedroom, this morning, while you slept right through it. There's a grief nobody really talks about. Not the grief of losing a dog. People are finally getting better at talking about that. Thank God. This is smaller, quieter, harder to name. It's the grief of watching your dog change while they're still here. Maybe it crept up on you. Or maybe there was one specific morning you remember it. Don't you? When you walked to the kitchen and turned around expecting to hear the familiar click of nails on the floor behind you, and there was nothing. So you went back, and you found them still in bed, deeply asleep, back toward the door, legs tucked under, breathing slow and heavy in a way that used to mean the middle of the night, not morning. And something moved in your chest that you didn't have a word for. It wasn't loss. Exactly. They were right there. Warm. Breathing. Still yours in every way that matters. But the thing they'd always done, the quiet watch, the eyes already open, that presence waiting at the edge of your waking, it just wasn't there that morning. Or the next, and you didn't know if you were allowed to feel sad about it. Didn't know if it was foolish to grieve something so small, something nobody else would even notice. You're not foolish, and it's not small. What you noticed was real. As dogs get older, the pre-dawn arousal pattern is one of the first things to soften. The biological machinery that kept them sharp at that seam between night and morning, the hormonal rhythms, the sleep architecture, that finely tuned internal clock they'd spent years calibrating around you, it starts to slow. Their joints ache in ways they can't tell you about. Sleep gets heavier, longer, harder to surface from. The REM cycles that once broke clean at dawn start stretching past sunrise. And the position shifts too. An older dog who used to sleep curled near your face might start turning inward, back to the room, conserving warmth in a body that doesn't hold it the way it used to. None of that, not one single bit of it, means they stopped loving you. The love didn't go anywhere. The body just got tired. And a tired body sleeps deeper. That's not withdrawal. That's not distance. That's age doing what age does to every creature that has ever lived long enough to earn it, including, one day, us. But here's what I need you to hold. The fact that you noticed, the fact that you walked back to that bedroom and stood in the doorway and felt something in your chest when you saw them sleeping through the hour they used to guard. The fact that you're paying close enough attention to know when the pattern changed, that is not nothing. Most people move through their entire lives beside a dog and never see any of this. They miss the watching. They miss the choosing. The dog is just there, warm and present. And they never once stop to ask what's happening in the dark. You stopped, you went back, you looked. The fact that you noticed they stopped waking up first, that's love. Noticing love. You're not losing them in those mornings. You're in a different chapter with the same dog. A chapter that asks a little more from you because they need you to do more of the watching now. And here's the thing, you're already doing it. You were doing it before you even had a name for what it was. Now, because I want to tell you this story the right way the whole way, there's one practical thing I want to put in your hands before we go. Gradual slowing is normal, expected, not something to lie awake worrying about. But there are two specific changes in the dawn watch pattern that are worth paying quiet attention to, especially in older dogs. The first is a sudden shift in a dog who's always had a stable morning rhythm. Not a slow fade over months, an abrupt disappearance. A dog who is reliably alert at dawn, and then, in the space of a few days or a week, started sleeping through to mid-morning with no clear reason. In senior dogs, that kind of change can sometimes be an early signal of canine cognitive dysfunction, which tends to affect sleep-wake cycles before it touches much else. If you notice that, talk to your vet. Not because something is definitely wrong, but because you'll sleep better knowing either way. The second is the opposite. A dog who was peaceful through the night, suddenly restless and pacing at 3 or 4 in the morning, night after night. Not once in a while, consistently. That pattern in an older dog can sometimes point to chronic pain or early neurological changes, things that are so much easier to help with when they're caught early. If you're seeing that, talk to your vet. Catching it early is still a gift you can give them. I'm not saying this to plant something dark in the middle of something tender. I'm saying it because you're the kind of person who watches closely enough to notice. And people who watch that closely deserve to know what they're looking at. Now come back with me. One more time. 5:47 in the morning. The room is that same quiet blue. The alarm hasn't gone off. The street outside is still. And somewhere near you, in the dark, at the foot of the bed, on the rug, in the doorway, 2 eyes are open. You know now what that cost them. You know it's not habit, not hunger, not the garbage truck. You know it comes from 14,000 years ago, from a grave in Germany where someone decided a sick dog was worth saving, from a hillside where 2 species made an agreement without words that the space between sleeping and waking was worth sharing, that neither of them should have to face the dawn alone. You know that 20 minutes before you opened your eyes this morning, your dog's brain made a specific, measurable, biological decision to leave its deepest rest and come toward wakefulness. For you. Only you. And if you've ever cried about your dog in the shower, stretched out in the dark at night, trying to calculate how much time you might have left, and then felt embarrassed about it afterward, felt like you were being too much, too sensitive, too dramatic for caring this deeply about an animal.
You weren't.
You were responding to something real, something that runs 15,000 years deep. Something that rewires its own sleep to be present at the moment you open your eyes. Most love doesn't do that. Most people, honestly, don't do that. And the creature sleeping beside you has been doing it quietly, without credit, without thanks, without ever once checking to see if you noticed. You noticed. And that's not nothing. That's everything. You are not someone who loves their dog too much. You're someone who finally understands how much they've been loved back. Across all that time, all those mornings, all those 18 minutes of quiet watching in the dark. That's not embarrassing. That's one of the most real things about you. Tomorrow morning, before the phone, before the news, before whatever the day is already lining up to want from you, look at them first. Just a few seconds. Let your eyes find them before anything else does. Because they've been waiting. Not impatiently, not with need. With that particular stillness, you now understand the shape of the one that has a cost. The one that has a name. The one that stretches back further than either of you will ever fully know. You don't have to make it a moment. You don't have to say anything out loud, or reach for them, or turn it into something you could explain later. Just let them see that you see them. That's the whole thing. That's always been the whole thing. And if you've ever glanced up from something ordinary, a book, a cup of coffee going cold, a thought you were already losing, and found your dog watching you from across the room, completely still, not near their bowl, not at the door, not asking for a single thing, just watching. And you felt something in that silence you couldn't quite name. That look means something. Something specific and something old. And your dog has been saying it to you for as long as they've known your face. That's the next story I want to tell you. I'll be here when you're ready.